When a trait or characteristic occurs in several or more members of a family, it is said to run in the family. What do people mean by this expression? Genetics is the scientific study of heredity. It is the study of how traits or characteristics are passed on from parents to offspring. Heredity is the transfer of genes from parents to offspring. Chromosomes, composed of genes, are carried by the sperm and the egg. Human cells contain 23 pairs of chromosomes, one set of chromosomes from the mother, and one set from the father, for a total of 46 chromosomes. Within each chromosome, there are many genes, each of which controls the inheritance of a certain trait. Chromosomes and their genes are composed of DNA. A gene is a segment of a chromosome that codes for a particular trait. In other words, genes control traits. A single gene is made up of hereditary factors called alleles. An individual carries 2 alleles for each trait, one from the mother and one from the father. Many alleles follow the principle of dominance, a theory first described by Gregor Mendel in his groundbreaking work with pea plants during the 19th century. The principle states that some alleles are dominant and others are recessive. The dominant allele is represented by a capital letter, and the recessive allele is represented by a lowercase letter. For example, a widow's peak hairline is dominant over a non-widow's peak hairline. The dominant allele will show up or override the recessive allele. The phenotype of an organism is its physical appearance or visible characteristics. The genotype is the actual genetic makeup of the organism, or the alleles an organism possesses. We can see our phenotype: brown hair, brown eyes. We cannot know what our genotype is. When the organism has 2 identical alleles for a trait, it is said to be homozygous for that trait. In a homozygous organism, both alleles are the same. For instance, a genotype of T would be homozygous dominant, and a genotype of lowercase t would be homozygous recessive. If an organism has 2 different alleles for a given trait, then it is heterozygous for that trait. An example of a heterozygous genotype would be T, lowercase t. This is homozygous dominant. This is homozygous recessive. In this case, it is heterozygous because the 2 alleles are not the same.